You just lived this moment before, not in a dream, not in a memory, right here. This exact conversation, this exact feeling, this exact second. And then it was gone. You called it déjà vu, you laughed it off. Maybe you told someone and they smiled politely. But something inside you knew. That was not a brain glitch. That was a crack in the simulation. And for one split second, you saw through it. Hold on. Before we go anywhere, I need you to understand something. Time is not what you think it is. You have been living inside a story where time moves in one direction, past to present to future, like a straight road, one lane, no exits. But that story was never true. Einstein proved it mathematically over 100 years ago. Time is not a constant. It bends, it stretches, it slows down and speeds up depending on where you are and how fast you are moving. There is no universal clock ticking the same for everyone. Time is relative. And if time is relative, then the straight road was always an illusion. So what is time actually? Here is where physics gets uncomfortable. In quantum mechanics, there is something called the block universe theory, and it suggests that past, present, and future do not happen in sequence. They all exist simultaneously. Right now, your birth, this moment, your death, every choice you ever made, every choice you have not made yet, all of it is already there, laid out like a map. What you experience as moving through time is not time moving. It is your consciousness moving through a structure that already exists in its entirety. You are not traveling through time. You are traveling through yourself. Now let's talk about déjà vu. Neuroscience has an explanation. It says déjà vu happens when the brain's memory encoding system misfires, when a new experience accidentally gets tagged as a stored memory before it is fully processed. Two signals arriving at slightly different speeds create the illusion of recognition. And that explanation is technically accurate, but it is also the least interesting version of the truth because it completely ignores the question of why those two signals misfire in the specific pattern that makes you feel like you have lived this exact moment before, not a similar moment, this one. Precisely this one. Here is another possibility, one that quantum physics does not officially endorse yet, but does not rule out either. What if parallel timelines are real, not science fiction real? Quantum mechanics already tells us that particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. Schrödinger's cat is both alive and dead until you open the box. The many worlds interpretation proposed by physicist Hugh Everett suggests that every quantum event that can go multiple ways does go multiple ways, simultaneously. In branching parallel realities, every decision you make creates a split. One version of you turned left, another turned right. Both are real. Both are living their lives right now, in adjacent layers of the same simulation. And if those layers exist right next to each other, what happens when they briefly overlap? What happens when two timelines running parallel suddenly vibrate at the same frequency, and for one fraction of a second, your consciousness receives a signal from the adjacent version of your life? You would feel it as a recognition of something that hasn't happened yet, or something that happened in a version of reality you cannot access through normal perception. You would feel it as déjà vu. Now bring in Vahdet-i Vücud. The philosophy of absolute unity says there is only one consciousness, one awareness, looking at itself through infinite perspectives simultaneously. If that is true, then the separation between parallel versions of you is not fundamental. It is perceptual. The boundary between timelines is not a wall. It is a membrane. And sometimes that membrane becomes thin enough to feel through. Your nervous system, which we have already established is a biological antenna, picks up the signal from the adjacent frequency. And for that one moment, you remember something that hasn't happened yet in this timeline, because in another one, it already has. Here is what this means for how you live. If time is not linear, then the version of you that has already healed, already succeeded, already broken through every limitation you are currently facing is not in the future. That version exists right now in a parallel layer of the same structure, and the distance between where you are and where that version of you is not measured in years. It is measured in frequency, in vibrational alignment, in how close your current emotional and mental state is to the state that version of you is already living in. This is not motivation, this is physics applied to consciousness. Every time you act from the identity of the version of you that has already arrived, you collapse the distance between timelines. Every time you think, feel, and move as if the thing you want is already real, you are not pretending. You are selecting. You are tuning your antenna to the frequency of a parallel reality and pulling it into this one. What looks like manifestation from the outside is actually just quantum selection from the inside. And here is the part that will stay with you. That feeling of déjà vu, that uncomfortable recognition, that moment where time folds over itself and you feel like you have been here before. Maybe you have. Maybe a version of you already lived this moment in an adjacent timeline and left a signal behind. And your biological antenna, sensitive enough to detect the electromagnetic field of someone else's heartbeat, sensitive enough to carry the trauma of ancestors you never met, picked it up. And for one fraction of a second, the simulation showed you what it was made of. You are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. And the moment you feel that shift, you are not confused. You are awake. Subscribe to EarthSimulation and choose your timeline. See you.